Need to fix this knife. I can do better. One more. There it is. So I wanted to get this in the beginning of the video. The knife that you're about to see is the Ferrum Forge Crux with my custom, call it custom, it's not really custom, it's my garage work of a lightning anno finish on the show side scale. I will be giving this away on my Patreon today. This is what you guys are going to see as I talk about it and put it together. This will be given away in Patreon. There's not too many Patreons currently, there's only 7, but if you guys join Patreon and you have 6 days to do it, join the Patreon, you can get in on this giveaway. The kicker is, if you join and you only have 6 days, it doesn't make it fair for all the other Patreons, so I'm going to add additional incentive to say, hey, not only do you have to join the Patreon, you have to go sub to my boys, Jake at Ohio State and Corey over there at the Practical Blade. You can also subscribe to JoJo over at Joe's Multi-Tool and EEDC, but his channel is about to stop. He's got 1 or 2 more videos, and then he's going to be doing something else. But let's go give him some love, too. So on with the assembly and the explanation of how we got this. And then at the end of the video, it'll just be music and me going through everything that it went through to make this. Enjoy. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Everyday EDC. Today, I am going to be doing a how-to mirror finish, and anodize, not only anodize, but lightning anno your titanium. Let me first start off by saying that lightning annos are, I've never anode via voltage. I want to get a voltage, like basically a voltage injector, but I also, I don't know what they're called. It's like you hook 2 leads up and it supplies a certain amount of DC current, but DC voltage rather. But I prefer the lime green anno, and you cannot get that via voltage unless you go super high up in the voltage. Now you can use the 9-volt battery trick, but that just So without further ado, this is what the scales used to look like. This is the Ferrum Forge Crux, okay? That's what the scales used to look like. When I got done, this is what they look like. So I'm pretty proud of this result, but let me also tell you that this result is not a culmination of a one and done. This result is through trial and error of my own accord. I'm a garage learner. I am not somebody that, is a professional. So let me also say that. Second, let me also say that PPE in this situation is probably one of the better things you can consider. When you're doing the mirror polish, if you have the right tools, you're going to probably want some safety glasses. You're also probably going to want some thicker gloves. I have some cut-resistant gloves here that are pretty critical in what I was doing. And don't worry, yes, I know I'm afterwards on the video. I'm going to explain what I did as I put the knife back together. Then I'm just going to turn on some music and let you guys watch what we did. But what you needed is I have a double 6-inch wheel polishing machine. It's basically these big fabric wheels on either side, and I use different types of compounds. I use diamond compound, but I have an abundance of diamond compound. I don't recommend you use diamond compound. I actually recommend you just go out and you buy those, those bricks. They have these bricks that are super cheap by comparison of diamond compound that work much better with polishing wheels. I don't have all the bricks that I want, and I didn't want to bust out my belt sander and start off at a super high grit and then work into there's multiple ways to mirror finish. The first way that I did that I think I achieved the best result, not this one, was on my Kaiser Gemini as far as mirror finish goes. Now the mirror finish basically was a result of taking about 1,000 grit and you go in one direction, so you go up and down. I prefer up and down. Don't go side to side. The colors, for some reason, you don't get such a uniform scratch pattern, so it's like you don't get this giant, you don't get to see the whole thing, right? This one, it's like the whole thing. If you guys do it, you guys know what I'm talking about, and those of you that have done it before, feel free to chime in the comments below and let me, clarify what I'm trying to say. If you go up and down, across rather, perpendicular to the scales, you're going to just get, it's going to be a mirror finish. And I mean, you can get it to a mirror finish, but it's much more difficult to get it to pop. So I like to go up and down, and you keep your scratch pattern the whole way. Scratch pattern just like sharpening. So even when you're polishing, you're doing micro scratches in the metal. And what your goal is to eliminate as many of those as possible by going lower and lower and lower in grit. The lower the grit you go, the more of a polish you're going to get. So basically, I spent some time on the polishing wheel going through different grits, and I ended up with the 1 micron diamond compound. I put it on this, and then I put a little bit on the wheel. Wasted a lot of it because the wheel spins most of it off, but I ended up with a pretty decent mirror polish, which you can see. A mirror polish is pretty critical to getting these colors to pop. As I said, I didn't get the best mirror polish that I've ever gotten, so I didn't get the best result, but I'm still happy with the result. So after you go through that, basically what you do, and I'm going to start working as I talk, basically what you do is you're going to take some kind of cleaning compound, and I have it right here, and I'm going to use it again on the hardware. This is just a heavy-duty degreaser. Any type of degreasing compound is going to work just fine. You basically want to clean the living shit out of this after you get done polishing it. And then you're going to take some alcohol wipes, which you can buy a little box of these or just get alcohol and wipe it down. Clean it off real good. Next, what I did is I ended up taking like just a generic piece of wire, which got a little sketchy because with wire, I hooked the wire through here and then I hung it in order to heat it. Before I tried to heat it on the stove, which you get a lot faster heat, but due to the stove, what do they call those? Like the grid that comes up above your flame, it has these metal pieces. Well, what you got to understand, a very basic form of thermodynamics is that anything that's touching it is going to suck some of that heat out. And the problem is you want a uniform heat in order to kind of get a uniform color, because as this starts to change color, it's going to change color fairly quick. And as you're changing the color, if you have pieces underneath here that are sucking some of the heat out, these are going to be harder to get up to temp than these areas. And what's going to happen is these won't be the same color as this in the end. So be mindful of that. I found the most success that I've had is by taking a wire and hanging it. Now, when I was heating it up, just full disclosure, and I'm going to soak this stuff real quick. Full disclosure, as I was heating it up, guys, I did heat it up inside, but you have to be extremely careful. You're dealing with freaking fire, you know? This thing, I had a temperature gun in there, and I was just doing it to kind of see where I was. This thing gets up to 600, 700, 800 degrees, and then some. It can get even hotter than that, and that temperature gun's a very cheap one, so it might not even be completely accurate. Point being is be safe. So what I ended up doing is I filled up a little Tupperware bowl under where I was working, a fairly large Tupperware bowl, and I filled it up with water. So worst case scenario, I drop this in the water and I call it a day, or I can take that and splash it on whatever I need to splash it on, and we'll call that a day. So it's the safest situation possible, right? Don't go burning down your house just trying to play with your knives. I don't think your wives or girlfriends or even parents or whatever you're doing would appreciate that, right? So be safe. That's what I'm talking about. PPE. Use your PPE, use your, use your brain when you're doing this. I know we get excited, and I'm the first one to admit that when I get excited, I just want to go, and I'll cut myself, I'll do dumb shit, and you're like, oh man, it's all right, and you just keep going, but you don't realize how bad this stuff can be. Let me give you a real dumb story of mine. Everything that I do is self-taught, okay? I do a little bit of learning online, and then I just go out and try it before I finish the freaking video, and so it's a blessing and a curse. I learn very quickly, but I also fail more times than I succeed in the very beginning. This is the second iteration. The first one did not turn out so well. But I was polishing a blade at one point in time, which if you're ever going to polish a blade on that, I highly recommend you take some really thick masking tape and put a little ball on the end so there's no point. Cover all your sharp sides, because as that grinding wheel is spinning at an ungodly rate of RPMs, it's going to catch these sides. As it catches the side, it likes to throw the material. I had a blade thrown back at me once, and it was terrifying. I ended up being fine. It didn't even cut me, but the point being is you could do really dumb things really quick just trying to be, have fun. So, and this is the adult form of fun. Let me also say, before I get into the assembly of this, I'm not going to do this scale. There's two reasons. One, I hesitate on thinner material because I've taken pocket clips and I've tried to do a black oil finish on it, and I'm not quite there yet, but we'll get there. I'll do a video on that, guys. But two, as you start to do it, with the thinner material, what's going to happen is it starts to warp. Now, I'm not saying you cannot do this side. This side is more difficult to do, in my opinion. Not only the polish work because of all the little, edges and everything, but as you start to heat it up, things can warp. So as you're using heat anodization, never heat anno your freaking Koenig Arius unless you know exactly what you're doing, and have done it a ton of times. Because here's the thing. Metals have this weird property that are in them that sometimes it's called stress, sometimes there's stress fractures, sometimes there's inclusions that we don't see. A lot of the stuff comes from China, and let's be honest, we don't trust a lot of Chinese quality when it comes to manufacturing. I mean, aside from the very reputable companies, which have a strong oversight in what they do. And I can say that, and it's not biased because I've experienced it firsthand through my job. We were receiving cast iron pots, and these things, as soon as we started widening the holes in the pots, which are a pain in the ass in themselves, they had a million freaking inclusions. And then there was some backdoor deal going on with the Japanese and Chinese when it comes to the companies we were working with, blah, blah, blah. It's not a nationality thing. I'm just telling you, typically from China, you really don't know what you're getting. So be careful with your metals. The reason I'm talking about that is as you heat anno, heat is going to bring out the worst in the metal. Sometimes it'll stress relieve it, which means it'll go back to its original shape. If it has that much tension in the metal. So you have to be very careful and do this on knives practice on knives that you really don't care about until you're relatively confident, okay? Is what I'm saying. Don't go and just do this because you see this sweet anno work on here. Sweet, yep, I'm being very humble. See the sweet anno work on here and you're like, okay, I can do that. Let's do that to my hinderer. Let's do that. Now, I would start off with the cheapest titanium piece that you can buy. Maybe go buy a Tucson or a Flytanium scale or something that's replaceable. Not saying Flytanium's cheap, but at least with the Flytanium you can replace it and it doesn't damage your whole knife, right? Alrighty. So, without further ado, let's put this guy together. So what I ended up doing, like I said, I was polishing, and then after the polishing portion, I took it into the kitchen and I hit it. I didn't hit it. I hung it from basically the above portion of my oven where it has some grooves that I was able to hook a wire into and dangle a wire down in the front. So that was probably the safest place I could have been, short of like a tub or something, but I don't know that you can really hang it that well from a tub. And with that, wrong side. With that, what I ended up doing was I tried a propane or a butane torch first, and that was a little bit more difficult, okay? Because the butane did not want to heat up fast enough. And see, I have some, there we go. Okay, this was already tight, this pivot, but due to a little bit of buildup from the process, I gotta clean this out a little bit. I'm gonna go get some sandpaper, get this guy out. But I took a butane torch, and butane. That wasn't strong enough. The flame was a little bit too small. So therefore, what I ended up doing is I went back and I resorted back to my propane torch. My propane torch is much more powerful. It's better. Propane works just fine for this process. Give me a second, guys. I don't know where my sandpaper went. All right, sorry about that. All right, so as you can see, there's buildup in some of these crevices. That's going to come just from oxidation of the heat and the way heat and oxidation layers form. So you want to take sandpaper. This is 320 grit. It really doesn't matter, but your goal is not to take off any metal. Your goal is just to clean off any buildup. All right, so I hung it. I took the propane torch, or the propane. No, was it propane? Yeah, it was propane. I used butane and then I switched to propane, I think. I don't remember what it was. It's the normal torch that you can get from Ace. I think it's propane. And then when you heat it up, you'll see in the video, I go up and down, up and down, up and down. The goal is to get as much uniform heat as possible. It's tempting to stay in one place because your arm starts to get tired and you're sitting there and you're like, I don't want to do this. I just want the result. But be patient. Take your time, because the more time you take, the better it's going to look. I promise you, because I made that mistake. Learn from my mistakes, which is why I do these videos, and do it the right way. Okay, I'm gonna take this. Your goal is not to widen this if you have to do what I'm doing. You don't want to widen it. You just want to clean off the buildup. Little adjustments and then keep trying. Little adjustments and keep trying. So that pivot fits in there just fine now. And it's a little tight, but it'll work itself out as time goes on, so I'm not too concerned. So basically, after I got done with, hold on, not finding the washers that I had. Damn. All right, let's take these pieces out. But after I got done with the heating portion, you can kind of, what you'll see is the heat comes after you take the blade, or after you take the flame off. The reason for that is it has to oxidize. It has to interact with the oxygen in the air to form that oxidization layer. So you basically let the heat come off of a certain portion of the scale for, a couple seconds and kind of see if it starts to change color and then go back to it. If you start to see orange, immediately back off because you don't want to damage your material. As the material starts to turn orange, that means it's really heated up in that position, and you will get an oxidation layer afterwards, but it's going to come in the form of something that it just happens too quickly. And you have no control. The goal is a slow heat so you have full control. There we go. Oh, shit. Okay, there we go. That's just cleaner, so I'm not worried about that. Taking off the gloves because they're ripping anyways. So after you start to see the color and get the color you want, my recommendation is starting with this bluish purple color. I know it's common. There's a reason that everybody sticks to this color. As you start to heat up and you start to get into the greens and everything, you're starting to get really, really hot. You're running the risk of warping your material, A, and B, hitting that green mark. I'm going to be perfectly honest, guys. I hit it with my Gemini, but I got lucky. Like that green mark, you're dealing with so much heat. You're going to get either a green, and the problem is if you don't get a green, you're going to get a super, super ugly, like gold. And I'm not kidding. It's like an ugly gold color. So yeah, I know it's tempting to try and go for that lime green because it's different, but there's a reason that most people don't have it, because it's kind of a pain in the ass to get, and it's a very, very low success rate, in my opinion, via heat. Now, this is coming from somebody who is not a professional. So you professionals out there that do this for a living, you guys are going to be able to tell me otherwise. I'm telling you from a garage perspective on a guy who all he does is do this stuff in his garage, and with the tools given, you can go to Granger and get that polishing wheel for like, I don't know, $60. And it lasts you, those wheels will last you a long time, as long as you're not doing industrial work with it all day, every day, right? All right. So then, after you get the color you want, within seconds, you're going to see that I dunk it into ferric chloride or ferric acid. The reason for that is I have that acid there to etch my blades whenever I'm doing some other home projects, right? But that acid's going to give you that finish where it looks like that storm lightning look. That's how you get that lightning look. Otherwise, you're going to get a solid blotchy color. You need to use that acid at the end to give you that. Now, there may be other ways to get that. Actually, my Gemini kind of had it, but it had a different style pattern. And the cool thing was I had it hanging from a tree outside, which sounds goofy, but it was the safest way I knew how to do it. It was in the middle of summer, so the tree wasn't dry, blah, blah, blah. But I had it hanging from this tree, and the wind was blowing on it. And what I think was happening is that it was getting air cooled at the same time that I was heating it, or that I was letting it cool off, which allowed it to get all these different cool patterns and colors. So that was really cool. I thought that was awesome, but I got lucky on that. That wasn't something that should have happened or that I planned to have happened. That's just, I got lucky. It turned out really cool, and I looked like a genius for doing it, but at the time it wasn't intentional. So that ferric acid is definitely going to give you an intentional finish of that lightning pattern. It messes with the oxidization layers, and I don't know the exact science behind that one, actually, but I can tell you that it works. and I can give you, I'm going to get more into the sciencey stuff of this eventually, because I actually enjoy that side of the knife world. I think a little bit more than reviewing is kind of like, I enjoy it because it lets me check all these different knives out, but realistically, my passion is blade steels and this how-to stuff. I enjoy it. I think it's probably the most fun, and it's the most rewarding. You know, a review, you're just like, all right, here you go. Oh, Shieldon, you want me to review your knives? All right, here you go. Right? It's like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like, that's not, I'm not saying I'm doing it just to do it, but yeah. Anyways, okay. But I will be honest with all my reviews. I'll tell you that. And I enjoy doing the battles. I enjoy doing the reviews. Just my passion resides in what I did today. This is just a lot of fun for me. And it's, like I said, I get a massive sense of accomplishment out of this. Whereas, you know, a review, once it's done, you're like, okay, I knocked that out. We all like to feel accomplished. We all like to feel like what we're doing has a purpose, and etc., etc., etc. Kind of doing filler. So after you dump it in the ferric acid, I then took an alcohol wipe, and let me make sure these are all the same. I then took an alcohol wipe, and I made sure that I wiped off all the acid to kind of neutralize the acid, right? Baking soda also works. Alcohol, actually baking soda works better than alcohol to neutralize it, but that's what I used. And it cleaned it off, and then you clean it off with the degreasing solution again. Don't scrub it, because you don't want to scrub off your oxidization layer, because that'll undo everything you just did. Now, it won't undo it. It's a pretty sturdy finish, right? I'm not saying that you're going to... What's going on here? I'm not saying that you're going to ruin your finish by... Oh. See. I'm not saying you're going to ruin your finish by doing anything like that, but I am saying that you don't want to ruin your finish and scrub the living crap out of it, right? I think I'm missing some screws. Maybe they're in the pocket clip. Sorry, taking it off screen. Gonna try and knock this out a little bit quicker, because I'm ending up doing filler conversation. Where did I put my pocket clip at? All right, I'll find that in a second. Let's finish putting this together. I'll let you guys look at this while I see what I did with the pocket clip. I had everything kind of taped up. That's why I had to clean it all off too. It was all taped together so that I didn't lose anything. So this is what the knife is gonna look like. And I might do an addition to the beginning of this. Here, let me find that pocket clip real quick. Okay, so I found everything. This was that was a terrifying moment. You know those moments where you think you're gonna lose your freaking mind? Hey, yeah, I thought I was losing my mind. I was like, I know I had them, because I wrapped everything up in like a Scotch tape before I took it home, so none of the screws went away, and then I put them in a bag, and it was like, where the hell did everything go? And then right when I was about to give up and see if I could find a replacement pocket clip, because I'm like, dude, this sucks. I found it on the ground exactly the way that I anticipated finding it. So that's good. Okay, so here is the lock side. Here is the show side. All right. So now I'm going to jump into the video, guys, about how we did this. And you guys can just see how it was done. Let's see. The annos show up better in different lights. So let's see here if I can get you guys a good... Yeah, that's about the best way to do it. I am blocking some of my light. We go like this. Blocking some of the light right there. There you go. So this is the final outcome. Final countdown. Pretty happy with the result. Go ahead and watch how it's done. I'm going to put something in the beginning that basically says that I'm giving this knife away on Patreon. This is the Ferrum Forge Crux with my anno. So if you guys want to get on Patreon, I will be giving this away. What's the date today? The 24th. I will be giving this away on the 30th, plus or minus. Okay, so enjoy the rest of the video. I will have it fast forwarded. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. Remember, I am not a professional. I am just one of us trying to have some fun with knives, right? So I'm going to sign off now and let you guys watch the rest of the video. My name is Tyler. This is Everyday EDC. You guys stay sharp, stay safe, and have a great freaking rest of your day. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, if you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit that like button and or leave a comment. The whole reason this channel was created was to interact with you guys and just share the love of knives. So until next time, you guys stay sharp, stay safe, and have a great freaking rest of your day. Thanks for watching.